Welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. Are you ready to conquer your challenges and achieve greatness? Join us as we dive into inspirational stories of industry leaders who have overcome adversity and reached new heights. Get ready for electrifying insights and captivating conversations that will ignite your passions for success. This is your go-to show for empowerment, growth, and leadership. Buckle up. Leaders Lead Podcast is here to take you on a transformational ride. The podcast, I am here with Holo Sail Technologies CEO, Johnny Walker. I am super inspired by you, brother. I'm really excited that we are finally doing this together. And I'm going to let the listeners and the viewers in on a little secret. You are now a sponsor of Leaders Lead the Podcast. So before we even start the show, man, I want to tell you, thank you so much for believing in our brand. Thank you so much for believing in me. It truly means a lot, man. How are you doing today?
Hey, Tony Taylor, Tony the Jarhead Taylor. It is a pleasure to be a sponsor, and it's a pleasure to finally do this with you, brother. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. So you and I met. We met. Was it 2001 that we met?
Yeah, it was 2001. It was shortly after. 2000. No, it was way after. It was
Not 2001.
2021. Yeah, 2021. Yep. It was right after I was in the documentary Healing the Heroes of 9/11 from being a 9/11 first responder. And my company was sponsoring that nonprofit event for veterans. And that's how we met.
Reunite the fight, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah. We tore that golf course up.
Yeah, man. We met. You mind if I tell the story of how we met?
Oh, go for it. I barely remember it.
Awesome. So here I was. The viewers, the listeners, y'all know me. I'm kind of an introvert, right? So I'm kind of rolling through the hotel. I just got to the hotel, and I'm doing a live podcast for this group that Johnny and I were talking about, and I'm just like, man, I don't see any freaking Marines around here. This is kind of weird. I saw a couple dudes with like polos and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, they're probably like enlisted or something weird. And I ventured to get on the elevator, and my senses started to peak a little bit. I look over, I see this Marine, he's all shit faced. I see another Marine, he's shit faced. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, are y'all in the Marines? Are y'all devil dogs? And he's like, hell yeah. And Johnny's looking at me kind of with this, slicing me up a little bit. It was so incredible. And from that moment, he and I, we've been in each other's orbit quite a bit. You say you never even remembered that story, huh, Johnny?
Oh, I remember it. I just, as you said, I was shit-faced. Full disclosure, it was an event. We were all having fun. We were partying. And we were doing what Marines do second best, and that is putting a few back.
Yeah, I think I was on my way to doing that. But then we got to talking, I think the next day, and I don't even think you even remember who I was, but throughout the years, I've been watching your journey, man. And reason that I'm inspired by your journey is it seems like every time we talk, I learn more and more about you. Your background, Johnny Walker. What made you start and join the Marine Corps?
So the Marine Corps, most people and most branches. So I don't want to just narrow it down just to the Marine Corps, but especially the Marine Corps. You'll find a lot of Marines come from broken homes. My father left when I was 8. It was not a polite divorce by any means. So I had a single mom. My dad was a Marine before me. He was in Vietnam, 312. He was a forward FO. Very impressive DD-14 in 1967. So I didn't have the greatest of childhoods. I don't want to go into too much detail because a lot of people in my family have grown up, had kids, and broken the cycle. But there was a lot of it wasn't an easy childhood. I was not a good student. I was kind of a bad kid. I actually dropped out of high school. A lot of people don't know that about me. Actually, most people don't. I'm a high school dropout. I decided I wanted to join the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps said I had to get 15 or 12 college credits because I was had a GED. The Marine Corps won't take GED. And in my defense, I believe in 1996 I got the highest score on the GED for the state of New York. So instead of doing high school, I just did it all in like an hour and a half. And since I scored so high on the GED, I was accepted into Pace University, actually. I did a semester, ended up with 15 credits. I went back to the recruiter and got in. I think with the Marine Corps, a lot of people, they go to boot camp, and this isn't to put down boot camp is Paris Island is, it should say, the land where there is no God when you enter. But a lot of people, they get there and they haven't experienced a lot of suffering or pain. But a lot of people like me who've come from broken homes and dealt with abuse and other issues, it was almost a break. It felt like, hey, I have 3 meals every day, like there's a bed with a mattress, this is, there's not roaches crawling on. This is, great. This is awesome. I'm in one place. I get to, be in one spot for, and I get to know people for more than a couple weeks. This is amazing. So for me, I immediately loved being a Marine. As my journey through the Marine Corps continued, I continued to love being a Marine and grew to hate the Marine Corps itself. And I say that a lot, not to down the Marine Corps because I have to give credit where credit's due. I would not have overcome the other obstacles after the Marine Corps had it not been for what the Marine Corps and life before that taught me. So, my Marine Corps experience, I went in, I wanted to be a grunt. I wanted 0311. So, I went to Geiger. I did like 2 weeks. Geiger is, for people that don't know, Geiger is infantry training. I scored really high on the mechanics for the ASVAB. So 2 weeks in, they called my name out and they moved me to MCT, which is Marine Combat Training, which is also in Geiger, and told me I was going to be a mechanic. Much to my protest, they reminded me that they owned me and I would do what the Marine Corps said. So went to MCT, became 3521. Shortly after being active duty, I was in a vehicle accident that almost split me in half. I had to be medevaced. It shattered all my lumbars, had internal bleeding, organ issues. They had to take bone from my hip, 6 screws, 2 rods, two gates on my spine, internal bleeding. I had to pump my stomach. So I was in a reserve unit from then on, which is how I ended up as a 9/11 first responder, actually, because I was with 6 Communications Battalion. Right there's the badge for it. 6 Comm, as people say, 6 Crime Battalion, because they're based out of Brooklyn. And I had a day job at Deutsche Bank across the street from the South Tower. On the day of September 11th, I had a friend who died in high school. I had a nightmare about him, and it made me sleep past my alarm clock. Tony, I'm late for everything, but I'm never late for work. That was the first day I was late for work, and it probably saved my life. I lived in Staten Island at the time, so I was on the ferry when the second plane hit, and they stopped the ferry and brought it back to Staten Island. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, lived only about 3.5, 4 blocks away from the towers I was on. We had the old cell phones, and the last thing I heard was her screaming and watching the towers collapse and the debris just cover her building. She got out, 6Com. They set up a makeshift morgue in Staten Island at the Staten Island minor league Yankee Stadium. So I could watch the fires burning. And one of my friends from the National Guard just happened to be a friend who was in the National Guard, knew where I was. He was like, Walker, I'm going to go in, and do you want to come? And I'm like, it's better than just sitting here watching it burn. So I put some civilian clothes on, and there's a whole hour 45-minute documentary about it. So
And this is your buddy. He was in the same unit that you were in too.
no, he was National Guard. He didn't have what we can't all be perfect, Tony.
So he was the National Guard, and he was motivating you like, come on, let's come up here and go with me, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. He was like, I'm not gonna, he knew me by Johnny because we were friends, not from the military. We knew each other before I joined the Marine Corps, before he joined the National Guard, actually. And so he was just like, hey, I'm gonna go in. I can't just sit here. And at the time, sitting there in camis waiting for bodies, and no bodies were coming. And I was like, let me get some civvies on. And I stole a corpsman kit, put it in my backpack, and we went over with some firemen, and we showed them our military ID. And I was like, look, I got a corpsman kit. I've got combat first aid training. I'm a Marine, and, I can help. And the firemen were like, we could use all the help we can get. Jump on the ferry with us. And we went in. So I got there right as the sun was going down.
Wow. So a lot of people ask me myself being a former firefighter for DoD, people always ask me, how the heck you get a job running into, buildings on fire? Like, why would you do that? But here you are, you don't even have to do it. It's not your job. Why did you feel compelled to do that? Which is very
Um,
freaking amazing, by the way.
I for a long time I had a a lot of almost shame about even going in, because in my head, we're Marines, Tony. They did the same thing to you. Mission failure is not acceptable. You accomplished the mission, and when I got on that boat, I thought I was going to save somebody. And when I got there, I realized they were all dead. And deep down inside, I knew they were dead. I don't know why I stayed as long as I did, but I did. And I actually, I guess the real answer is just the way I'm wired. I remember even talking to my wife, like, why, you know, uh, what would have happened had I been on time and gone there? I might have been able to get to her, and she wouldn't have had to stay in Brooklyn, with nothing for 3 days. And she's like, "Who are you kidding?" She's like, "I know, I've known you for 25 years. If you were there, you would have died because you would have been the first one in the building." And I think certain people are just wired a certain way. Like I'm just one of those people that I do care for myself, but I have a lot of empathy. And I think that goes back to suffering. I think a lot of people that, when you go through suffering, uh, most people that go through extensive suffering have lots of empathy for others, because they know what it's like to suffer. And it's not fun to suffer, and you don't want to suffer, and you don't want to see other people suffering. So I've always been, and to this day, I kind of have the reputation that, like, I'll take the punch before I'll let somebody else get hit, because I know I can. I've taken so many. So it's just, to be honest with you, it's just the way I'm wired. I think I couldn't not act. I used to hide from it, and another fellow Marine was like, "Well, Walker, you got to own that." Like, while millions of people were running away, a few thousand ran in, and you're one of those few thousand that made the choice to turn around and run toward the fire. And that fire burned for 90 days. The destruction. There's no TV that does it justice. It was massive.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
It's 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 interesting that you say that there's no TV that can do it justice. I was actually at boot camp on 9/11. I'll never forget my drill instructors. They come into the room and they're freaking kicking trash cans. I mean, they're acting a damn fool even more than they normally would, right? And they go into the duty hut and I hear them yelling and screaming and I don't want to be here with these. I my senior drill instructor. I don't want to be here with these bitches and talking about us with these bitches. It's time to go to war, and I'm like war because I'm not gonna lie to you, Johnny. I joined the Marine Corps. I was a dad. I had a baby on the way. Story kind of just like yours, brother. Uh, I was a high school dropout. I ended up going back to get some credits, kind of last minute to join. I had a baby due in a couple months. 9/11 happened. I remember seeing it on TV and hearing my drill instructors talking about it, but not really understanding the gravity of it. You ever because in boot camp you're in a different. It almost seems like you're in a different world,
Oh, you
right?
are in a different world in Paris Island, that's for sure.
I was
There's no
Marine.
place to sit.
Wait. Hold up. Wait. Uh. I am not a Paris Island Marine.
Oh,
MCRD,
that's right.
San
You're a
Diego.
Hollywood Marine. I
Yeah,
always
man.
forget.
but no, you're absolutely right, man. It's yeah, and that's why hearing stories though from people like you that were there, like just like you haven't even like gotten to any of the gory details, but I just got goosebumps just hearing it because I don't know too many people that would do what you did. Like,
Yeah.
and I
Uh,
still, yeah, and I don't think there's even a way to even freaking describe it.
I really we'll stick with the Marine Corps. The drill instructors in boot camp, and then when you go to Geiger for MCT, you hear it over and over again. There are no heroes in war. Heroes die. And it wasn't like I'm like, oh, hey, I'm gonna be a hero. It was never like that. I never even thought of it that way. I just thought if somebody's suffering and I can stop it, I'm going to do everything in my power to stop it. I don't care who it is that's suffering. Um, it's just partly who I am and how I was raised, and also partly being a Marine. Like, what do Marines do? Right? We put ourselves in harm's way so others don't have to be. Like, that's part of our job as a Marine. And that and being professional killers, but uh but at the end of the day, the even the kill is so that other people aren't being hurt, right? Like Marines kill the bad guys so they can't hurt anybody else. That's the whole kind of ethos of Semper Fidelis, always faithful, and you're always faithful to the Marine Corps. You're always faithful to your country, and I knew those were civilians. I knew they had families. I knew they were just regular people going to work. And I think at that moment, I knew I would not be able to live the rest of my life knowing I just watched them burn alive and didn't at least try to save somebody. I regardless of the outcome, right? At the end of the day, I know, I mean, I lost 20 years of sleep until I got 22-0. Thank God for them. They healed my PTS from 9/11. But so I lost 20 years of sleep from it, or 19 years of sleep of it. But now, tonight, I'll go to sleep. I told this story and I'll be able to sleep tonight. And I'll be able to sleep with a very clean conscience, knowing that, I didn't just sit at home and watch it on TV like everybody else. I took action and I did what I could. Maybe I didn't save anybody, but I went down fighting. You know, uh,
What what part of that what part of that experience do you carry with you today, good and bad?
um, I'm always my doctors are always constantly monitoring certain things because of the air. The person that I actually went in with got lymphoma. So I'm considered high risk for all kinds of different cancers. So whenever there's any kind of thing, it's a kind of like poof alarm. Make sure it's not 9/11 related. Um, but now, to be honest with you, uh, the emotions have been stored where they need to be stored thanks to 22-0. And now what I carry with me is the memory of those that we lost, and the memory of the people that are still dying from going in to help, and the memory of all the other heroes that actually I mean I'm the Marine Corps sent over the wire that any six comm guys that are in there, they were going to get NJP'd because our unit was on standby for deployment. So I left early. A friend of mine, David Perez, he's a police officer, retired, just wrote a book. I would do it misjustice if I didn't mention the name of his book. It is, I apologize, I had it right here. A Resilient Life, A Cop's Journey in Pursuit of Purpose. David Perez is the author. He spent 2.5 weeks on that pile and almost lost his job as a police officer because he kept going back. And so there's men like that did way more than I did. So people are like, "Oh, you're a hero," and you know what? I'll take that. Yeah, I was, but I'll take that in honor of the ones that were there for months. 90 days that fire burned, and 90 days people were fighting that fire. So I wasn't there for 90 days. So, yeah, my actions, maybe somebody would be like, yeah, you're a hero, but there were others that gave a lot more than I did. And so to me, I try to honor them and try to carry the memory for them.
Wow. Is that why you stay connected? Just like the event that I met you at was in memorial and support of 9/11, and the folks that fought in the wars after that, the folks that endured that day. Is that why you contribute the way that you do?
I contribute the way that I do because after 9/11, my mother got sick. I'd been in the car accident, so I had severe nerve damage and all kinds of pain. My mother got sick. It took her 6 years to die. It was a very slow and painful death. I had a really good job at Port Newark, working the ships. My mom died. I was in a really bad headspace. The doctors at the time started giving me painkillers and painkillers and painkillers. And after my mom died, it actually is just before my mom died. I can remember the first time I stopped taking the medication, and I thought I got the flu. And one day I just was like, I don't want to take any pills today. And so I didn't take anything. And I got sick, and I called the doctor and I was like, I need Tamiflu. And he was like, are you taking the pain medication I wrote you? And I was like, no, I decided I didn't want to take it. And he's like, no, you're going through withdrawal. And I was like, what's withdrawal? And so I had a journey of like 3 years of getting off of painkillers. It took 3 years to get out of that cycle of using painkillers. And I own it because part of me, I do have severe nerve damage. It's a fact. I am in pain 24/7, 365. But I think at some point subconsciously I was taking them for more than just physical pain, and didn't know it. I was dealing with a lot. So I decided, time to go back to work. 2008 hit, right? And I got my act cleaned up. I'm cleaned up. Let's go back to work. 2008, there was no jobs. So I literally found myself at a Home Depot parking lot with immigrant construction workers catching jobs. Within 6 months, I had my own contracting company. And then my second child, my daughter was born, and she had a protein allergy, which was, I don't want to say to the viewers, we'll just say a very disgusting bile, and a little more disgusting, a little more messy than a normal baby, and she was in pain constantly. So one of us had to stay home and take care of her. My wife had a job with insurance, and I was self-employed. So it was a no-brainer. So I closed the company up. I stayed home with her. And before I was about to start the company again, I found out number 3 was coming. and decided that I needed to get a job where I needed a paycheck that was steady. And I went back into logistics, and I had been out for so long I had to work from the ground up. So I literally got a job as a driver for minimum wage almost, and worked my way up to warehouse lead, and then eventually got back to Port Newark running the ships again. And then from there, I started this company.
Hold on.
Um,
Let me ask you a question. How that process, and the reason that I want to stop you because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs out there that won't do what you did, going back, and even veterans going back and taking that minimum wage job just to be able to survive. What was your mindset like in that moment?
That's a excellent question, Tony, because one second, you're in the Marine Corps and you're working on, systems that are worth, millions. They would even tell us in the Marine Corps, hey, the equipment on that Humvee costs, $64 million. Your training costs $75,000. Make sure that equipment gets back safe. Like, we don't care if you do, the equipment gets back, right? Like, you're expendable, but that Humvee is not.
And I was the one
So
breaking them in the Marine Corps.
yeah, for the viewers. He was a driver. I was a fixer. 3521, 3531, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
35,
yeah.
31.
You know what? It's a great lead in. I 3521 did, Tony. Like, when you're a mechanic, sometimes, you can't follow the manual, you can't follow the instructions. You got to grab what you got, you got to patch it up, and you got to get it going. And I think, yeah, do you feel like, what the heck? Like, I can literally, blindfolded, take apart multi-million dollar military equipment. And here I am in a Home Depot parking lot begging for, you know, $50 a day jobs where I, bust my hump all day long. Um, and then going back to the corporate world, starting from the bottom and working my way back up. Yeah, there's moments that you're just like, you really feel underutilized. And you have to be careful, because if you're too good at a job, especially in corporate America, you'll be stuck in that job. So you want to be good enough, but not too good. And I found that out the hard way multiple times, because you, as a veteran, and this goes pretty much, I think, for all branches, you're trained to work in a team, and you're trained to get the job done. And a lot of civilians don't look at the world that way. They look at the world like, it's eight to not, 9 to 5. I get my paycheck, I go home. I want to do as least amount of work possible in those hours and just get my paycheck. Um, and and you'll get frustrated as a veteran in that environment, because you'll see people like that get promoted when you're out there getting the job done, and you're not getting promoted. It's because if they promote you, then who's going to do the job? Right? So there's a trick to it, and there's a balance to it. And yeah, there is a mental capacity where you have to just, ego is a dangerous thing. And it is something that we all fight. I fight it daily. We all fight it daily. But if you look at, even Carl Jung, we'll go back, way back. I mean, because even psychologists to this day will tell you, you pretty much nailed it, right? Like, you have the ego and persona. And then under that, you have the collective subconscious, then you have subconscious, then you have yourself. So if you look at it like your body is like that Easter egg chart of Carl Jung, you know, um, uh, if you are live in ego and the persona, you'll never know what's inside of that yolk. You'll never know what the egg tastes like. You'll always be on the shell. It tastes all crusty and chalky, right? You'll never get to the grit and the good, the nutrients. Um, so I've always tried to push my ego to the side and not, I'm human. It happens. Sometimes, especially when somebody hurts somebody I care about or I love, my ego is just, it's like, oh no, you're messing with the devil now. Like,
Mhm.
my ego will come back, really fast. But if you can get past that ego and just say, you know what, I'm doing this for a greater cause, And that greater cause is to make sure that my kids have food, to make sure that, I have that paycheck coming. I know I have insurance. I know my kids, if they get sick, can go to a doctor. And I know if I keep doing this every single day, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I put them in the bed, and, or, when I was at the port, I'd work, 16-hour shifts, 4 days in a row, night shifts, day shifts, working 3 shifts at a time. I mean, it's hard, but at least the port paid a little bit better. I'm not gonna lie. But it's still a very hard life because you miss a lot of games, you miss birthdays, you miss Halloweens, you miss night times, bed stories. And also, I would warn entrepreneurs, if you want to do this, if you want to be successful, you are going to sacrifice so much more than you realize that you're going to sacrifice. It's not
But
as
what
easy.
about balance?
Yeah. Oh my God. Tony, if I told you how many messages I have on LinkedIn about, life coaches trying to give me balance advice, I want to pull my hair out from them. You know, there is but in their defense, Tony, there is a balance. There does have to be some kind of a balance. And what my wife and I, she works full time, and she works a very demanding job. So what we kind of did is we try to set boundaries and stick to them, and then grow those boundaries a little further and a little further. For example, I cherish my cup of tea before I go to sleep every night with my wife. She knows with my job, we work with a lot of people from other countries, that there's nights where I'll be up all night working and I'll miss that cup of tea. But at all costs, I try to always make sure that I at least tuck my kids in and have that cup of tea with my wife. And then I'll come back down and get the work done. It's little things like that, and then you can start to build on those things. Like, okay, now I'm going to make sure every day my daughter's falling behind in reading. So now every day I'm going to make sure 5 minutes I read with my daughter. I don't care if it's the back of a coupon flyer,
Sure.
whatever. 5 minutes we're going to read, right? Like anything. The credits after Nightmare Before Christmas, whatever. So it's those little tiny things, and also in life, it's those tiny things, Tony. Like, you're going to lose more than you're going to win. And there's a whole generation of Americans that think that you're just going to win everything, but that's not reality. In life, I got to be known for I'm skinny. I don't look like much, but I got known to be, I'm a great fighter. I'll clear a bar. And that's because I
Were
got
you
my
a
butt
double rat
kicked.
recruit?
I was a double rat. I was a double rat recruit. I was. And
They hid the food from me at boot camp.
I even had you remember they made you wear the
The
spray
tag.
painted 2 lines? Yeah. I had
All
the
right,
two
go ahead. I got
lines.
you on track, man. Go.
Yeah. And it's those now you lost my train of thought was, but it's those sacrifices you're going to make, and then those moments you're going to lose more battles than you're going to win. You're going to lose a lot more. And I think I'm going to tell the trick, at least my trick, to this whole thing of life that I've found that works for me. And I actually, I'm going to say I coined this phrase because I put this on LinkedIn like 6 years ago, and now everybody's saying it. There is no such thing as an obstacle. An obstacle is just another opportunity to learn. And with Holo Sail Technologies, that's the way we have run our company from day one. If I could tell you every obstacle that dropped in front of us, most people would be like shocked. There's so many obstacles that are going to come in your way. And if you go, oh man, an obstacle, we got to figure out how to get around it, or, oh, we got to change. No, you don't change. You know, your direction. What you do is you approach the obstacle and you change that obstacle into an opportunity. And if you keep that mindset, And you can apply that even outside of Holo Sail Technologies in our company. Like you can apply that to life too. Like for example, I think kids are a good example for like pure thought, right, and pure emotion. And sometimes my youngest, he's 6 years old, he'll have a meltdown, and 9 times out of 10, it's because of one of two reasons. One, he just doesn't understand because things are still new to him, right? Or two, he's just overtired. He's had a crazy day. A friend was mean to him at recess and you don't know about it. He's up late because his brother had a late soccer game and mommy's home is the coach and you're, working and trying to do that whole balance thing, right? And they have a meltdown. And if you stop for a second and you think, if I was him, why would I be having that meltdown, right? And if you approach that 6-year-old and you say, "Hey, are you a little tired today? Something bad happened today at school?" And you actually they'll tell you, "Yeah, so and so was mean to me. It's the recess, blah blah." And if you engage them like literally like an adult, they'll give you reasonable answers back. And the next thing you know, there's no more meltdown. You're laughing and reading Halloween Hustle. You know,
That's,
um, kids are really amazing. They can teach you a lot about the adult world, and I think they're the greatest gift I've ever been given.
I agree. I learn a lot. I learn a lot from my daughters. I learn a lot from my son. It's weird the things that you learn from kids. You think you got it figured out at work. You come home and they're like, "Nah, dude. Here is the lesson." Um, Something that I was going to ask you. So going from the spot that you were in, the job that you ended up getting, what made you did you wake up one day and say, "You know what? I'm going to start my own company"? Like how did that come about?
That's a great question. Lots of people have asked me about that. I actually took a picture of the moment that this happened, and so it was. I was on the Science Channel actually. Mega Machines, Sea Giants, season 1, episode 8, New York City Megaport, and I was like the main character of the episode. If you have Discovery on Demand, you can watch it or whatever. And I, at that point, I had never been on TV before. Now I've been on TV quite a bit, as a contributor to live news.
I see you all
Uh,
over the place. Fox, CNN.
and Newsmax is
Uh,
my number one home. Not for political reasons, just because they never redact my research when I send it to them before I come in. But I was watching myself on TV for the first time, and one of the questions was, could you ever see humans replace or be replaced by technology? And I saw myself say, no way, that's impossible. This is way too complicated for machines. And then one night after I watched myself on TV, and I have a picture on my phone, I'll share it with you on LinkedIn or something. I'll share it with everybody. And I am in what we call the control room. I've got probably 5 different software systems, systems on my computers. I've got 3 computer screens. I've got 12 radios, 13 radios on. I've got 2 cell phones, the company phone and my personal phone, which I would use because I got so many calls on my company phone, I'd have to use my personal phone. Then I have a landline with like 6 lines all blinking. And I still had to get out of the office, climb up on a ship in the middle of the snow, get in a fight with the Chechnyan chief mate that was drunk off of his butt. And finally, I told the guy to go to sleep. I'll take care of it myself. Just let me tell your crew what to do, right? And he was so drunk, he was like, "Fine." I was like, "Go make yourself a sandwich, sober up, and I'll fix this. And I promise you, when you wake up in the morning, it'll be done." And he goes up, and I'm looking at this big symphony of chaos happening, right? Cranes and people and the ship. And the ship is snowing, and the ship's covered, the deck's covered in snow. And I was like, there is a better way to do this. And right when I said that, I was like, I'm going to figure it out. and I snapped a picture. And that's how the whole idea of the company began, right then and there. I was like, I am going to figure out a better way to do this. And by this, I meant not just shipping, I meant operations in all industries, because I had been, in construction. I had been in route logistics. I had been in warehousing. I had been in maritime. I had been, I worked so many jobs before I joined the Marine Corps. It's not even funny. I started at ranching and farming as a kid. I worked at Chick-fil-A, Sonic Burger, the warehouse at JCPenney, name it. I've had the job, like my wife gives me a hard time because I tip everybody. And I'm like, listen, I tip everybody because I've had that job before. And I promise you, they're barely getting by right now. Like, and if we can tip them, I'm going to tip them. So to me, I knew there was a better way to do it. And I knew there was a better way to do it without getting rid of workers, by protecting workers. So the whole point of the technologies that we make at Holo Sail Technology is to use advanced technologies to automate humanity and humans back into the economy, not take them out. If you look at all the other companies, they're using AI, they're using, which is the worst name for that technology. It's not artificial and it's not intelligent. It's a coder that teaches machine learning how to teach itself algorithms. That's all it really is. It's mathematics. But I digress. They're using these technologies to automate humans out instead of saying, hey, what happened? Let me back up 1 second. Let's just imagine, and I'm not going to call out any, I don't want to be sued tomorrow, after we air this, but there are companies that people, they utilize to find new jobs, right? And they upload their resume and they never get the job. You hear complaints all the time. And it's because there's algorithms, AI algorithms that if you don't hit it, boom, you're not, the person doesn't even see the resume. Now, if we were using that when Einstein applied to be at the patent office, he would not have got that job. He was a terrible student and he got the job because of his uncle. That is where he came up with the theory of relativity. That theory has the Doppler effect in it. And that is why we understand how vibrations and waves operate. Meaning, we would not have this wireless communication in this podcast right now had Einstein not come up with the theory of relativity. So if we continue on the path of taking technology to push people out of the equation, our future as humanity is very bleak. There's got to be a company, there's got to be people out there using these technologies to fight the good fight, to keep people in our economy. I mean, how many times do I call the pharmacy? I don't want to talk to that robot anymore. Like, right. I need to fill my prescription. You want a COVID test? No, I don't want a COVID test. I want to fill. Oh, you want a vaccine? No, I don't want. I got the booster. I don't want. Oh, there's a new vaccine. I don't want the new vaccine. I want my prescription. Right? Human, talk to human. Like it's obvious. Self-checkout lines. Come on, are they paying for me to be a clerk? They should be paying somebody to do that job, to be checking your groceries back. It's destroying middle class America, which is the backbone of our economy. If we lose that, we have a very bleak future ahead of us. And it's not just middle class. People need to be like people that think that they went to college and are safe from this AI. There's a certain bank, again, I don't want to be sued, that laid off 22,000 high level financial positions.
Wow.
And replaced them with bots. So your college degree and advanced MBA doesn't mean that you're safe from this, So I'm going to end the rant there.
Hey, this is Tony Taylor, the host of Leaders Lead the Podcast and also the owner of speakuniversity.org. Let me tell you about our fantastic partners at Holo Sail Technologies. They are your one-stop shop for IT solutions. When it comes to data security, communications, and privacy, they are on top of the game. Holo Sail's approach is all about crafting customized white glove solutions that perfectly fit your specific software and use cases, all developed and implemented to the highest absolute standards. It's simple, folks. With Holo Sail Technologies, you'll get all the data and communication solutions you need without the headache. Give it up to our friends at Holo Sail Technologies. No, that's interesting because the name of your company is Holo Sail Technologies. You would think that your company is about the technology, but it sounds like you're about the people using the technology. Am I coming from? Is that right?
We are about taking those advanced technologies, embracing them, and ethically applying them so that humanity is not lost. That there's always still some form of empathy. There's always some form of humanity in the decision making. Those technologies are great. They should be used. It's going to help humanity, but if it's done properly. For example, we have we have a whole suite of different products from broadcasting to social media, but our number one is basically communications and back office needs. We have the only technology on Earth. It's more secure than this new phone that a Navy SEAL came out with and claims is unhackable, which our team has already found like 7 backdoors.
Talk
Um,
that shit, Johnny Walker. Talk that shit.
well, we did. There's actually a device on Amazon you can buy for $60. If you stand next to somebody with one of those phones, you can get everything on it. Anyway, our technology, that can't happen. And the beauty of it is you can put that on a computer, you can put it on a tab, you can put it on your phone, and nobody can hear what you're saying. Nobody can see what you're doing. You have your privacy back. You can work on collaborative documents. You have logistics tracking systems. You have uh, project management systems. You have communication tools. You have video conferencing. You have regular phone calls, text messages. You can break it down into groups. You can do breakdown groups. You can do a whole nine right there. And as of today, it's been tested. No known cyber attack or method can get into it. And we've tested it at 34,000 feet, traveling just over Mach 1, and it works flawlessly. And you don't need to buy, some phone just because some Navy SEAL made it, which is
I know you're
actually not as secure as they claim.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you're serious about the security. I know I sent you a document. You said, "Hey, this isn't secure." I was like, I'm not going to say
That's
the
why
name
I'm
of
on
it.
the fuzzy computer. When we started the podcast, my picture is fuzzy. I'm like, Tony, this is the computer I use for links.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
dude, that's incredible. So you can do all of that stuff that you name on one platform, and that's your
Yes.
platform.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And then we have other platforms that are for broadcasting and private social networking. So for like organizations, churches, political groups, even schools, if they wanted to have their own curriculum and not have to worry about Google Docs or I can actually say this and not get sued because it was in court. Seesaw was recently hacked last year, a major hack. So here's Seesaw, which is pretty much in every school in the United States, where they were getting pornographic pictures sent to their children on Seesaw. And I go to my back to school night, and of course the teacher's like, "Oh, here's your Seesaw password," and I'm like, "No, thank you. We will not be using that. I will get in touch with you via email or phone. Thank you." Uh, because Daddy works in cybersecurity, so no way we're using Seesaw. Uh, and yeah, I mean, this is a real threat. If you can literally just Google cyber breaches, and we as a company at one point we were trying to post things on social media as social, as breach. It's just so many that we can't even. We just stopped. We were just like, I mean, we post here and there now because it's daily and it's 15 to 20 daily that are happening. I mean, MGM Grand just got hacked. The DoD got hacked on
Yeah.
all of their sets. So you got sixth generation fighters that are using artificial intelligence on a system that got hacked by the Chinese. So you wonder, why aren't the Chinese spending billions of dollars on sixth generation fighters? They don't need to. We're building it for them.
Wow. So it sounds like Holo Sail Technologies is the solution.
It is the solution, absolutely. And we're veteran founded. We're the original four founders. Two are civilians. The other one is me, a Marine, and a Devil Doc, a corpsman, a Navy corpsman. And I actually trained him on his first day at Port Newark. And we found out later that he served as a corpsman in my old unit, and we had some friends together that he knew and I knew. And we've been friends ever since. I mean, Tony, the way docs are. They're like the honorary, they get the Semper Fi, Marine Corps. They're one of us. They're the few squids that sorry, Navy guys.
As close as you can get, right?
Yeah. Docs are, especially if you're a combat corpsman, like you're one of us. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
I wanna ask you a question from one entrepreneur to another entrepreneur. Again, I freaking am inspired by not just your journey as far as things that you did in the Marine Corps, the things that you did when you were bravery, right? Like absolute bravery. I'm really inspired by that. But the entrepreneur side of you, that's a whole nother level. Like, what did it take for you to get to where you were then to where you are today?
Um, Sacrifice, grit, determination. There's going to be doubt. I mentioned this on somebody interviewed me before, and I mentioned doubt. Self doubt's going to come up a lot. People are going to doubt you. A lot of times, it's the closest people to you that that hurt the most, because they doubt you. And I think the really if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you want to be successful, and like people see the tip of the iceberg, and there's a guy named James Covert. He's one of the he does a Project Refit, which is a veteran and nonprofit as well. Um, uh, and he isn't a veteran, and he gets a lot of slack because he runs a veteran nonprofit, and he's like, well, people are, well, you're not one of us, blah blah blah. But I'll tell you, that guy, one night saved a veteran's life, and to the point where this veteran was armed, and he happens to be in New Jersey. I almost drove over to him to give him a bulletproof sweatshirt that I have that doesn't look bulletproof because I was worried for him. So this guy's so dedicated that he's willing to wake up at 2 a.m. and go to a veteran's house that's armed and talk him off the ledge. And I remember having a conversation with him about this. People don't see they see me on Newsmax. They see me at the UN opening event, right? They see me with Governor Youngkin. They see all this stuff and they think, you don't just get there. That's literally like the Titanic's tip of the iceberg, and that iceberg below is full of endless nights. There's full of I call it my dungeon that I'm here, right? I have an office. I don't think I've been to it in a month because I'm so busy. The second I wake up, I'm down in my dungeon on the computer and on the phone. I don't even get time to get to the office, right? I have to be reminded. My wife made me put alarms on my phone to remember to eat. Like, that's how much dedication you have to put into it if you want to see success. And I'm going to use And I'll go ahead and give a free plug to Navy SEAL Will. This guy's an amazing dude. He does Naked Warrior Recovery. He does the 5 SEAL Secrets. But I'm not witty enough to come up with this quote, and it's one of his quotes, so I don't want to steal it from him. And he says, you got to stack up the small successes to reach the big success, right? So one of the things I can give that's worked for me, I hate saying I don't give advice, because as soon as I say I'm giving you advice, I just said that I know more than you do. And I don't believe that to be the case. I believe every person's journey is different. That means there's no way I can know more than you about you and your situation. But what I can do is I can tell you what has worked for me. And what has worked for me is definitely what Navy SEAL Will says. I cherish those small successes and I stack on top of those, right? And then that's how you end up on national TV. That's how you end up being invited to the opening event for the UN. That's how you get invited to meet Governor Youngkin. That's how that's how you get to those places. And people don't see those stones of success. You got to go down through the creek. You got to dig through the mud. You got to find
Your
that
work in the
stone.
dungeon.
Then you got to bring it back over. Then you got to stick it in your dungeon, right? And then you got to stack it up and up and up until you can peek out the window, And so one of the things I would caution people, like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, be ready to take the hits. And I think that the second thing is, people assume, oh, you're the CEO, you're the boss, right? And I always correct people. I am not the boss. I work for my team. They do not work for me. And I'm going to steal one from Biden. Uh, what was it? Solid stop, right? Was that his tweet that everybody was making fun of? Solid stop. I don't even know who says that nowadays, but my daughter said that they say it in at school. So I don't think Biden actually wrote that tweet, but solid stop. I work for them. They don't work for me, and I trust my team. I I'm there to guide them. I'm there to take those hits. If something goes wrong, even if it was somebody else that made the mistake, I will take the hit. And my team knows that. And I mean, people are like culture. That's another one that I want to get into, that we would definitely be remiss. You have these companies that say company culture. Right away, if you work for a company that says that you have a company culture and they have these mottos and coffee cups that have it on it, you are in a bad, toxic place. You are in a terrible, toxic place. And let me tell you why. If there is a company that says that you have to be this and you have to be that and you have to be this, you are not free, my friend. You are not free. You are a number in their system, and they expect you to do what you're told without any kind of innovation or human empathy or anything else. So that whole thing you hear all the time, I see it on LinkedIn a lot. Company culture this, company culture that. And I always think to myself, how toxic is that? The culture we have at Holo Sail Technologies, there's one rule. We're a family. We're in this together. We're all working on something that's bigger than us. If we all don't succeed, there is no success. Period.
Love that. I love that so much. We have that's the same thing with our company. There's the culture is like there is no culture. We have people from many different
Right.
cultures and we're
Right.
combined as one. I have just like I like to get on camera. I like to do this kind of stuff. I have an employee. Let me tell you this, man. I have an employee that I've never met him before ever in my life, not even Zoomed. It's been through phone. And that's because that person is not does not want to interact like that. We have been on Zoom before, but that's not the way that he operates. He doesn't work that way. I got other people, they would rather FaceTime me. They would rather see me in person than but if I said, okay, everybody has to be like me, everybody has to be, picking up the phone and making phone calls and just like this people person, then you're right. That would be fucking toxic.
Yeah, yeah, 100. You hit it the nail on the head. Like, the last employer I had, who, by the way, fired me for starting this company. Well, actually, they never said why, and also gave me a hard
Don't
time
feel bad,
about.
man. I got fired for inspiring people on my off time, so bad
Oh,
about that.
and part of it was because I was a veteran. Hands down, I actually have proof of it. I'm not a crybaby, so I didn't sue them or anything like that. But I mean, I easily could have. But um, they had this, like, integrity, blah 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 blah, and if you tell employees they have to do something and they have to behave in a certain way, you just took away a magic of their personality that may not fall in one of those traits. There are certain things that maybe not, um uh like, we have people from all different backgrounds, all different cultures. Our vice president's Filipino. He grew up in Manila. He learned how to speak English from reading encyclopedias, came here, joined the Navy, right?
Wow.
We have, all walks of life. One of the people that are in our company, who passed away, was African American. He was one of the most genius. He was a veteran brother of mine. And if you'll see, sometimes I still post about him on LinkedIn, on Facebook, all the time. Um, and His loss, actually, I have his pair of rescue wings right here next to me, sitting
Uh,
next to me on my desk.
that's
They never leave my side. And But he was, I mean, a character, and he was offensive at sometimes. He was not politically correct, let me tell you. But in those meetings when he wasn't politically correct, and if he offended anybody, guess what? They would just give it back to him. And we would get over it. We work it out. Are you offended? Not anymore, because I got him back, right? And boom, okay, good to go. Next thing you know, we have a brilliant idea. Let's move on it, right? Like, as soon as you start saying this is our culture and you have to behave a certain way, um, you're in boot camp. You're not at a job.
yeah. Any non-negotiable as far as like the people that that you would hire or the people that you would even work with?
Um, let me frame it this way. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little political here. Um, uh, I I had to sit down with my son because, my circle of friends is mostly veterans, some hard chargers, Marines, um, and a lot of them are very political. And so my kids hear, a lot of things about China and Russia, right? And I had to sit my oldest down, and I told him, I was like, "Listen, Cody, I love the Chinese people. I love China. It has an ancient, rich culture of art, of wisdom, of science, of health, of natural health that's probably better than the pharmaceuticals that we're taking now. And they've known it for thousands of years. However, I don't agree with the leadership of the country at this time. And the same thing goes with Russia. Russia is a beautiful country. It has amazing structures, architecture, culture, um, Tchaikovsky, right? Like, the list is endless. I just don't agree with the current administration that's controlling the country at this time. That doesn't mean I don't like Russians, and it doesn't mean I don't like Chinese. And so I guess I bring that up because I the short answer is no, there is no limitation as long as that person believes and the fundamentals of what it means to be an American. And I don't care if you're an American, as long as you believe that everybody on earth has the right to a pursuit of happiness with unabated, meaning nobody you have the right to make the bad choice. If you make the wrong choice, that's on you. But you have the right to make that choice. And I'm not going to get in the way of you making that choice. I can guide you to try to I can offer you advice and be all bigger and better than you. I know more than you, blah, blah, blah. No, like, that's not my place. I'm not very religious, but I am very spiritual. And I have a Bible sitting right next to me, like, on one interview, they were like, "Hey, what book would you recommend reading?" And I'm like, "The Bible." And they were like, what? Like kind of blown away. I'm like, all the wisdom you need on earth is right here in this book, right? And I don't care if there's plenty of other, religions, the Torah, which is the Old Testament plus some, same thing, whatever you choose. Uh, there, what matters is the character, right, Tony? So that's my limitation on who I would hire to work for me. If you don't have character of an individual that cares for other, if you don't have empathy, if you're not looking for the greater good, then yeah, no, there's no place for you at our organization. If you're just out for labels and titles and money, then no, this isn't the right company for you. If you're looking to help the others and help humanity as a whole, utilizing technology and learning as you go, and growing, and then we are definitely the home for you. Yeah.
I love that. That is so good. Well put, brother. Let me ask you another. You got a little bit more time? I know you're a busy man.
Sure. For Tony Jarhead Taylor, huh?
I
I,
appreciate
I
it.
only went for the elevator. I should have invited you to just come up. We had a 6-pack in the room.
I don't know why you didn't, brother. But
I,
I was gonna, yeah,
I
one
probably
entrepreneur.
did.
No, you didn't, because I probably would have took you up on that.
Oh well, I regret it then.
Yeah, no, but we had our time the next day, right?
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
out.
oh yeah. Yeah. We'll plead the fifth about the next day.
Starting your company. What do you think was the hardest thing that you learned that you did not know that only you would know if you were to do it?
That's a trick question. Number one. But I I've started more than one company. The contracting company, it wasn't like a huge success, but it was a decent job. It paid the bills. It got us by. Um, One thing I didn't know, going into this, you know, I never had a company this large before, this successful before. So I think, one of the things I didn't know was the impact that we would have on other people in a positive way. And, some people talk about imposter syndrome. I never had imposter syndrome. What I have is something a little bit different. You've gotten to know me. The audience doesn't. I'm a very simple guy. I'm not materialistic. I drive a Chevy Equinox. If I won the Mega Millions tomorrow, I would still drive it because I paid it off. You know what I mean? I'm driving that thing until the wheels fall off. I don't care how much money I got in the bank.
And still
Um,
have tea with your wife every day?
exactly. Like I don't, to me, those material things aren't that big of a deal. It's more of the journey and stuff. And it over the last, I don't know, around 8 months or so, I get so many, people come to me and, oh, Johnny can help you, Johnny, I'm a big fan. Johnny, and we were at Home Depot a couple weeks ago with my kids getting some propane, and like these people were honking the horn, like, "Hey, Newsmax, you're saving the world!" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get some propane with my kids. And I don't see myself as like this guru of like, self-help or anything else. I just see myself as Johnny, a guy that got beat down and wouldn't take no for an answer and stood up every time I got beat down. I mean, that I'll give myself credit for. I got the scars to show for it. I'm like a cockroach. You can step on me and I just keep on moving. And I don't know how, all you poor folk out there, you know what I'm talking about. That cockroach, you hit him with the broom. You're like, man, get him with the shoe. All right, the shoe didn't work. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things I was not expecting at all. And I'm learning to deal with it. Like, it still blows my mind that somebody would be like, hey, Johnny, I would love for you to tell me, for your advice or your help. And but at the same time, it's a blessing because I'm in a position where I can help people, and that really feels good. It feels good to be in a position where I can help people. I can't always help them. There's certain people that there's limitations. I have limitations, but at least um, I would say that is probably the best part of this entire journey, Tony. It's not anything else other than the fact that I do know that I have helped a few people, even if I can say a few. That in itself is, I my kids can be proud of their dad. Like he did something to help somebody. Um,
What
I
an
don't know.
amazing feeling that must be.
Yeah, it is. It's nice, especially coming from so much suffering for so long. And I mean, kids, like we said before, they'll teach you more about yourself and about life than I think any college professor or almost any book outside of this one sitting next to me can teach you. Um, and actually, it'll teach you more than this because guess what? There's nights when my kids have me down here reading this thing, going, "Oh man, what do I do?
Wow.
I don't know if I need a priest, an exorcist, or a rabbi."
Oh man, that's good, dude. Man, I could totally talk to you forever. I definitely want to have you back on because I want to talk some strategy and tactics for my own selfish benefit. But I know the folks of Leaders Lead, our viewers, our listeners, I know that that's what they want to hear. They want to hear how did you come up with this successful company? If you could, the last question, the last question, how do I phrase this? Do we have any save rounds or alibis that I forget anything? Is there anything that you want to let the viewers and listeners know?
Um, you know what? I would if I wanted to if there was a message I wanted to get out to the world, um, is right now the world seems upside down. We have two sides of a coin that we've been given, but in reality, that's an illusion. There is no coin. We're in this together. We are all connected. The human race is connected, and we need to learn that we have more in common than we have different. All of us. We all have the same fears. We all have the same needs. I'm not going to say wants because wants are different. Like I said, some people want a Lamborghini. I'm happy with my Equinox. You know what I mean? But we all have the basic same thing. All parents, what do they want for their kids? Safety, happiness,
Happiness.
a good education, right? A safe place to play with their friends. They want their kids to have friends, right? Um, uh, and once we get past that and we put all of this labeling of things aside, and I think the veteran community, excuse me, has been very mislabeled and taken advantage of. Um, we have been labeled as, oh, PTSD. Oh, they're crazy. Oh, they get 10% off, right? We did not join to get thank you for your services or 10% off of of Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever it is. We joined to serve. I lost you, Tony. Oh, okay. I we joined to serve something bigger than us, and that's exactly what I was talking about. The mission of Holo Sail Technologies. We're not judging our success by profit margin. We're judging our success by how much we've affected the communities that we serve, and we need to get back to that place. And one of the I recently posted about this on LinkedIn with the veteran community. We've been mislabeled. We've been and I'm seeing it. Veterans like you, like me, I mean, the list is endless. I could go down a list of veterans and also civilians that are helping veterans, law enforcement officers, firefighters. They're starting to say, you know what, no more. We know the federal government's not going to help us. We know that nobody's going to help us. We know that we're just going to be used as a corporate advertisement. Oh, we support the veterans. We give them 10% off. Like, take that and shove it. The veterans finally have woken up. There's veteran nonprofits run by veterans that have gone through what we've gone through. There's veteran companies run by veterans trying to make the world a better place. There's veterans doing amazing things in companies, trying to make those companies better. More like companies like mine that are trying to put the betterment of society before profit, right? We are finally waking up, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. The veteran community finally wake up and say no more. And the beautiful part about it is, who's going to stop us, Tony? Who's going to stop us? Right? What are they going to call the Marines? Nobody's ever asked me that. That's and I've actually, because of certain health situations, which are now clarified not to be 9/11 related, and I'm out of the woods and good. I actually had to ponder that a little bit, because it did cross my mind. I'm not gonna lie, and I think what I want my legacy to be, if I could pick one, is that I'm not even sure if I want it to be about me. I want my legacy to live through and live on. I just want to be recycled back into the universe, back into positive. I want my kids and everybody's kids to live a better life, a little bit better than when I got here. And if I can even just slightly tip the scales of the universe to make the world a little bit better, hopefully that butterfly effect will grow, and generations later, that positivity will still be going. I'm kind of winging this whole dad thing. I'm not to put down my dad, but he wasn't around much, and when he was around, he was going through his own issues from being a Vietnam veteran. So he did the best he could with what he was dealt with. Whatever came out of that jungle of Vietnam was not a normal human, I can tell you that. So I actually give him credit for what he did do as a father, but I'm winging the dad thing because I did not have a normal father-son situation growing up. So I guess the legacy I would like to leave is with not just my kids, everybody's kids, right? Like, I want to make the world a better place, even if it's just a fraction, and Semper Fidelis. That actually means something to me, always faithful. And not just, number one, to my brother and sister Marines and my family and my friends, but to the human race in general. And I mean every country, every culture, every religion, every background, every belief structure, I don't judge how you live. I don't judge what you want or how you clarify your happiness. I just want you to be happy. That's it. Like, if I can make the world tilt to provide that kind of an atmosphere for everybody on Earth a little bit more, that would be good enough for me. Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure, man. And likewise, you inspire me, brother. It's every time we talk, I walk away with something new in my toolbox. So I appreciate our friendship and I appreciate our brotherhood.
Thank you for allowing me to travel with you on your journey. I want to say thank you for the things that you're doing, the things that you've done, and the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something truly amazing. Remember, I'm here to stand by you as you chase your dreams, lead with greatness, and continue to make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. I'll see you next time on Leaders Lead the Podcast. Peace.